This video is intended for a mature audience only. If you're a kid, please go away. Hello, Reloaded for Life here, bringing us a brand new video. And today we got the archetype analysis of Dragonmaid. Oh my god, I've been so excited for this deck. I love Kobayashi's Dragonmaid. The anime is, oh my god, I haven't laughed that hard to an anime in such a long time. I watched it last year and I loved it. I own all the volumes of the manga and its 2 spin-offs, and I am eagerly anticipating Season 2. So needless to say, when Konami announced one of the 3 archetypes in Mystic Fighters is a Dragonmaid archetype, guess which one I am prioritizing building? And guess which one I am going to push off waiting until they drop in price, because good lord, $40 for a kitchen? No. So, let's get on with this. Dragonmaid is an interesting archetype, to say the least. It is a... it's kind of very similar to, how do I put it, Gladiator Beast, in an extent. It's like somebody took the idea of Gladiator Beast and Light Sworns, meshed them together, and then called it a day. It's a fusion archetype. They only have 1 fusion, though. They could really do some more, I think, in my personal opinion, but I'll get to that later. And every monster, except for the fusion, has 2 forms, a maid form and a dragon form. The maid form is typically more utility purpose, while the dragon form is more about, like, going for big damage, and also, some of them have, like, utility purposes as well, but we'll get to that in a little bit. The deck is heavily reliant on its graveyard. Due to this, it has milling effects and just standard sending effects. Almost everything gets a monster in the graveyard or gets themselves into the graveyard. And it just results in a really okay deck. It's very... As you'll see as we go along, this deck is very slow to start. Once it gets going and once it gets really working and everything, it's actually not half bad. The issue is getting it going. The deck takes so long to get going, and it's so easy to disrupt for your opponent to do, and it just results in a middling, just kind of fun rogue deck with cute artwork. So, yeah, first and foremost, let's talk about Nurse Dragonmaid. It's a level 2, 500 attack, 1600 defense. If she's normal summoned or special summoned, you can target 1 level 4 or lower Dragonmaid in your graveyard, except a copy of herself, special summon it. At the start of the battle phase, you can return this card to the hand, and if you do, special summon a level 7 Dragonmaid monster from your hand or graveyard. You can only use each effect of Nurse Dragonmaid once per turn. This card kind of basically sets up what you're going to generally expect from the rest of the archetype in terms of the level 3 or lower monsters. Basically, whenever she is normal or special summoned, she does something. And then at the start of the battle phase, she bounces back to your hand to summon out her dragon form, who is a level 7. However, what's really nice is that you can also summon the other level 7, so it really makes for an interesting dynamic where the level 2s turn into their level 7s, whereas the level 3s turn into the level 8s. And basically, that's how it works. There's an effect on summon, effect to return the hand, effect to, to just summon a monster. And it's just basically that. Nurse Dragonmaid is your main extender, though, in all honesty. Heck, she's like basically your only extender. Whenever she's normal summon or special summon, you get a level 4 or lower Dragonmaid from your graveyard. I like how it specifies level 4 or lower, which implies the possibility of us getting a level 4 Dragonmaid in the future, which would be pretty neato. But however, the main thing is that you just get one of your other girls back in the graveyard, which results in some possible shenanigans and getting their effects, because they all have effects on summon as well. That being said, she does need setup, and she is honestly one of the better lower levels, so yeah. Then we got arguably the worst of the lower levels, and I hate saying that because honestly she's the most adorable. But however, Laundry Dragonmaid doesn't really help the deck much, in all honesty. If she's normal or special summoned, you can send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. At the start of the battle phase, you can return her to hand, and if you do, special summon a level 7 Dragonmaid from your hand or graveyard. This is nice and all, but blind milling is not good in this deck. With the exception of the big boss monsters, the dragons, the level 7 and 8s, you don't really want to send a lot of stuff to your graveyard with just blind milling. You know, you'd much rather targeting mill with one of the other Dragonmaid effects, or with Foolish Burial, Dragon Shrine, etc., etc. It just really results in not very good at getting stuff in graveyard. You know, in my experience, I have summoned her, used her effect, and then milled like Twin Twister and my Return of the Dragon Lords and a Foolish Burial, and then I just kind of have to end my turn because there's nothing else I can do. And yeah, that's just me and my bad luck, but however, those situations will arise where she doesn't hit anything. It's just the name of the game whenever it comes to blind milling. So really, in all honesty, out of all of them, she's really only good as a 2 of in the deck, I believe. Maybe as a 3 of if you really want to get an extra name in there, but I really feel that she's better as a 2 of in the deck, just in general. Then we got Parlor Dragonmaid, level 3, 500 attack, 1700 defense. If she's normal or special summoned, she sends 1 Dragonmaid card from your deck to the graveyard, and then at the start of the battle phase, you return her to the hand to summon a level 8 Dragonmaid monster from your hand or graveyard. And there's the better version. Right off the bat, she's better than good old Laundry. Basically, Parlor is what you mainly want to get to, along with the next one over whenever we get to her, because just on normal or special summon, you get to send any of your Dragonmaid cards to the graveyard. Mainly, you're going to be wanting to like send a level 8 or a level 7, or maybe also the Fusion Spell, because the Fusion Spell has a graveyard effect. So, generally speaking, that's the main ones you want to send. Also, sometimes the Trap card too, because you can indirectly search it, but we'll get that in a little bit. You'll want to play 3 of Parlor. She's one of the best cards in the deck, along with Nurse, and also Kitchen Dragonmaid, aka Best Girl. I will fight to the death about that. Level 3, 500 attack, 1700 defense. If she's normal or special summon, you can add a Dragonmaid monster from your deck to your hand, except a copy of herself. Then send a Dragonmaid monster from your hand to the graveyard. At the start of the battle phase, you return it to the hand and summon a level 8 Dragonmaid from your hand or the graveyard. This is one of the best cards in the deck, like in all honesty. Just on normal or special summon, search out a Dragonmaid, and then also ditch a Dragonmaid to the graveyard. That can be the same one you searched, or it can be a different one, so you can use the effect to bring it back from the graveyard, and then you really didn't lose anything. That's really kind of one of the really nice things about this deck. Once it gets going, all of these effects that like seem like minuses, they don't. They become like super serious pluses. It's really crazy. I've had instances playing this deck where I did get the ball rolling on the deck, and I've had like 10 cards in hand at the end of the turn because everything just bounces itself back to the hand, and it just results in you having so much hand advantage, it's kind of silly. As to how much that hand advantage actually helps, that's debatable. You definitely want to play 3 Kitchen, though. And then we got Dragonmaid Ernest. It's a level 7, cannot be level 7 Earth, 2600 attack, 1600 defense, Dragon. Cannot be destroyed by card effects while you control a fusion monster. That is something shared amongst all of the dragon forms of the Dragonmaids. You can only use each of the following effects of Ernest once per turn. As a quick effect, you can discard this card, special summon a level 4 or lower Dragonmaid from your hand. This is basically an inverse of Nurse's effect, which is pretty good, and it makes sense considering this is Nurse in her dragon form. So yeah, that's pretty handy. Then at the end of the battle phase, you can return her to the hand, and if you do, summon a level 2 Dragonmaid monster from your hand. This is pretty handy, and also brings up the next big issue with the deck. So, well, yes, you do revert back into the maid form, which is all nice and dandy and all. There's one little issue that I have with this. The little ones, the maids, summon the dragon from either hand or graveyard. But the dragon can only summon the maid from hand? Why? That doesn't make any sense to me, and really hinders what this deck can do to an extent. Because every single Dragonmaid in their dragon form can only summon their maid form from hand, and that results in some very wonky situations where you just don't have something that you want to summon or something like that, and really oftentimes you just summon the maid version so you can tag out during the battle phase next turn. It does kind of suck in that extent. And then next up we got Dragonmaid and NYARUKO. The other level 7, 2600 attack, 1600 defense, water, dragon effect monster. Same, cannot be destroyed by card effects, so I control a fusion monster, and you can only use each of her following effects during, once per turn. You can discard this card and target one monster in either graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, and at the end of the battle phase, you return her to the hand, and then summon a level 2 Dragonmaid from your hand. NYARUKO, this and one other one would have been near perfect cards as a quick effect. I get it that, yeah, they would have been generic hand traps, but it would have been worth it. NYARUKO being able to just be basically a DD Crow would have been amazing. Okay, your opponent activates something in graveyard? Nope. NYARUKO effect, shuffle it back in. Or, oh, do you activate Monster Reborn, target something in graveyard? Nope, NYARUKO, shuffle it back in. But you can't do that because it's not a quick effect, which results in this card not being nearly as good as it could have been. Okay, so yeah, it does suck. It really does, because this card could have been amazing. That being said, I still recommend playing 2 of it alongside the other kind of bad one, Ernest. I don't think I mentioned it, but I definitely recommend playing 2 to 3 of her, especially since she is the only one, well, one of only 2 quick effect Dragonmaid dragons. So yeah, NYARUKO, I really wish it would have been a quick effect. It is nice, though, that you can target a monster in either graveyard. I've done that a few times where I've targeted one of my own Dragonmaids in my own graveyard just to get it back in my deck so I can search it or kind of just do some indirection thing and not also deck out, because that's kind of easy to do with this deck. Next up, we got Dragonmaid Larper, the other one who could have benefited from being a quick effect. Seriously, her and NYARUKO should have been quick effects. End of story period. So, Larper is a wind, level 8, 27 attack, 1700 defense, dragon effect monster, can't be destroyed by card effects, sway control fusion, yada yada yada. And you can only use each of her following effects once per turn. You can discard this card and then target one face-up monster in the field. Players cannot activate that target's effects on the field this turn. At the end of the battle phase, you return it to the hand, and if you do, spell summon one level 3 Dragonmaid monster from your hand. Again, this should have been a quick effect. This prevents your opponent from activating that target's effects on the field this turn. Now, if that monster has already activated its effect, then it doesn't really do anything because it's already been activated. It just prevents it from activating. So if your opponent has something that can negate your stuff, you activate this, try and bait it out. If they don't, oh well, you get to, prevent them from activating it later. And also, it just kind of just ends up being the main card you use for baiting out negations, because it really does suck that this thing, Larper, could have been so much better. Like, oh my god, she was a quick effect, would have been so much better, but nope. As she is now, she's a decent 2 to 3 of. I've seen arguments made for playing 3 and also made for playing 2 of her. It comes down to your personal preference and how much, I guess, in terms of like what the current game state in terms of the meta is. Then we got Dragonmaid Thikkhec. So Thikkhec here is a level 8 fired, 27 attack, 1700 defense, dragon effect monster, can't be destroyed by card effects, or control fusion monster. That's, same difference. As a quick effect, you can discard this card and target a Dragonmaid you control against 2,000 attack until the end of this turn. And at the end of the battle phase, you return it to hand, summon a level 3 Dragonmaid from your hand. This is one of the better ones, in all honesty, because the Dragonmaids, especially the lower level ones, don't have very good stat line, and this basically makes them the same stat line as their dragon forms, which is really handy, and also makes it to where your dragon form Dragonmaids can actually get over some bigger beaters. I mean, granted, 27, 26 is nothing to really shake at, but however, it does help out quite a bit. Moving on, we got House Dragonmaid. She's a level 9, 3k attack, 2000 defense, needs a Dragonmaid monster and a dragon monster. Right away, that makes it to where Super Poly is a really good side deck option if you're playing Dragonmaid, because if your opponent's playing a dragon deck, you can just Super Poly into your House Dragonmaid. Anyway, so yeah, she's got 3k attack, 2k defense. Once per turn during the standby phase, you can target one other Dragonmaid monster you control. Special summon one Dragonmaid monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position whose level is 1 higher or 1 lower than it. When another face-up dragon monster or monsters you control returns to the hand, except during the damage step, you can target one monster your opponent controls and destroy it. That is not once per turn. So, House Dragonmaid is a very effective boss monster and also kind of an extender to an extent too. Basically, the main thing is that she has a utilitarian effect and also a just aggressive control effect. This is where the control aspect of Dragonmaids really comes from, and generally speaking, you want to get out House Dragonmaid as soon as possible, so then you can begin really plussing off the deck. Like really, without House Dragonmaid being on the field, the deck just falls apart, because House Dragonmaid, during the standby phase, either player's standby phase, not just your standby phase, you can target one of your Dragonmaids, summon a Dragonmaid whose level is less than or higher than that monster's by 1 from your hand or graveyard. So right away, let's say you have a Nurse Dragonmaid on your field, you target Nurse Dragonmaid, you summon Kitchen from graveyard, Kitchen effect, search out Thikkhec, discard Larper or something, and then you're basically set up for that turn. And then also, whenever a Dragonmaid does bounce up to your hand, you get to pop a monster, and that's not once per turn. If your opponent has a bunch of monsters and they try going into the battle phase without first trying to deal with House Dragonmaid's effect, they can lose a lot of their monsters very easily. If you have 2 to 3 Dragonmaids on your field, you can very easily get 2 to 3 pops with House Dragonmaid, and it is amazing. And I do absolutely, positively recommend playing 3 in the deck because she is a prime target for getting killed by your opponent, and you want to keep her out on the field as much as possible. So, yeah. Speaking of the fusion spell, let's talk about it. Dragonmaid Changeover. Beautiful artwork, by the way, and hinting at what House Dragonmaid's Dragon form looks like, which, Konami, when are we getting that? Come on. Probably going to be a Link monster. Guarantee it. Bet it. Okay. So, fusion summon 1 Dragonmaid fusion monster from your extra deck. Sorry, 1 Dragon fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. It's literally polymerization, but for dragons with its standard fusion effect. What makes it unique and why you play it instead of over polymerization, and for instance, is that whenever it's in your graveyard, you can target 1 Dragonmaid you control, add this card to your hand, and if you do, return that monster to the hand as well. You can only use that effect of changeover once per turn. So basically, if you like normal summon Parlor, send this to the graveyard, you can activate this, bounce Parlor, and then add this to your hand. It's a pretty good effect overall, and because of that, you only really need 1. I mean, you don't really need more than 1 House Dragonmaid on the field at any kind, at any time, because you can't trigger her effect. Well, her effective pop activates multiple times, but like, there's no need for having 2 of them out on the field. It's just too much work for the deck to handle trying to do. So, generally speaking, you only need 1 of this. Like, seriously. It's easy to recur. It's easy to get in the graveyard. It's easy to activate. I really recommend only playing 1 of it, but if you're paranoid and you're a paranoid person like me, go ahead and play 2. You just need 1, though. Next up, we got Dragonmaid Welcome, which that is the scariest... that is probably the scariest welcome that somebody will ever have. It's a continuous spell. All monsters you control gain 100 attack and defense for each Dragonmaid monster you control. If you control 2 or more Dragonmaid monsters, you can target a Dragonmaid card in your graveyard, except a copy of itself, add it to the hand. You can only use its effective welcome once per turn. If it is sent to the graveyard, you can activate this effect. Your opponent cannot target Dragonmaid monsters you control with card effects this turn. So basically, if it's sent to the graveyard, your opponent can't target Dragonmaids you control with card effects, and it gives all of your Dragonmaids more attack power, which is something they kind of need, especially with the little ones. And also, you can recur more Dragonmaid stuff pretty relatively. It's because of this that you can actually like kind of pseudo search out the other spells and also the trap card, because you normal summon Parlor, well, better yet, let's say you normal summon Nurse, Nurse summons out Parlor from graveyard, and then Parlor like sends the trap card to the graveyard, you activate Welcome, add the trap to your hand. It's pretty handy. Due to this, I do recommend playing 2 to 3 of Welcome. The attack buff is nice. It's not anything particularly crazy, but it does stack if you have multiple out on the field, which can get pretty high pretty fast. And more importantly is the recursion effect. Not to mention the effect to like prevent targeting. If you have House on the field and you target one of your lower level ones and you summon Parlor from hand or grave, you can send Welcome to the graveyard right then and there from your deck and prevent targeting during your opponent's turn. It just allows for a lot of different playability and playstyles for the deck that it really does need for it. Next up, we got Dragonmaid Hospitality, the best card in this deck. I am not exaggerating one bit. Dragonmaid Hospitality. Special summon 1 Dragonmaid monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position. Then you can send 1 Dragonmaid monster with the same attribute but a different level from your deck to your graveyard. You can only activate 1 Dragonmaid Hospitality per turn. This is literally Monster Reborn plus Fool's Burial. It cannot be understated how good this card is. There are other archetypes out there that would kill to have this, and it is absolutely fantastic. Generally speaking, you want to get to this card as soon as possible, or open with it preferably, and you know, just constantly recur it with Dragonmaid Welcome. So this card, you absolutely need to play 3 of it. That is hands down what you need to do if you're playing Dragonmaid. Do not play any less. Also, you get the bonus factor that this has absolutely adorable artwork. Moving on, we got a quick play spell coming out in the next main set, so I had to kind of provide the translation. This is Dragonmaid Send-Off. Target one Dragonmaid monster you control, special summon from your hand in defense position, one Dragonmaid monster with a different name from the targeted monsters, and if you do, the summon monster cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects until the end of the next turn. Also, return the targeted monster to the hand. You can only activate one Dragonmaid Send-Off once per turn. Send-Off is another absolutely necessary card for Dragonmaids. Outside of Nurse and Nurse's Dragon form, the deck doesn't have many extenders. If you don't have this and you don't have Nurse or her Dragon form, you're kind of not going anywhere very fast, and that sucks. So this card gets you another monster on the field, gets your other monster back in the hand. Your monster can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. It's a quick play, so you can activate it during your opponent's turn, and it just allows for a lot of play and being able to actually try and compete against your opponent. I highly recommend playing 2 to 3 copies of this card, especially since it is recurable with Welcome. But however, it's down to you. So really, honestly, great card overall. Fantastic. It sucks that we don't have it until the next set, but oh well. Then we got the trap card and the final card in the archetype for now. Dragonmaid Downtime. It's a continuous trap card, and it has 2 effects. You can target one Dragonmaid monster you control and apply one of the following effects. Return it to the hand, and if you do, add one Dragonmaid card from your deck to your hand except a copy of Downtime. Or return it to the hand, and if you do, return one spell or trap card your opponent controls to the hand. So this card searches out the entire archetype. This is how you can get to Welcome pretty easily or Hospitality pretty easily. As well as also on top of that, it allows for some back row removal, which is something the deck doesn't have if you haven't noticed. So even though while it's not permanent back row removal, it is nice. And hey, you get to search out any Dragonmaid card and also trigger House Dragonmaid's effect more commonly and in different times other than just during the battle phase. In fact, this is like one of the best things to do. You can activate this, target a Dragonmaid, return her to the hand, bounce an opponent's card, or better yet, search, so you plus even more, affect a Dragonmaid, pop a card your opponent controls. It's pretty simple. This card is really good, and I recommend playing 2 to 3 of it. It's just down to you and what you think the perfect ratio is for this card. Now, of course, it is slow because it's a trap card, but it's something that is worth playing because it is just too good not to play in the archetype. So overall, what are my thoughts on Dragonmaid? This deck, as much as I love it, as much as I love the style of it, as much as I love what it's based off of and everything, and as much as I really want to build a deck, but I can't because a freaking kitchen being $40, this deck is not good. It really is not. It's a fun rogue or casual deck. This deck is not meta deck. It is not even close to that. I do not even recommend playing this in locals, much less regionals or anything higher than that. You will not do well. That is just a fact, and I hate saying that. That being said, this deck is still, I would say, the second best archetype in Mystic Fighters, with Generator being the worst and Mathmech being the best. Don't worry, I will cover them soon too. That being said, this card does have the plethora of dragon support out there to get help from. Return to Dragon Lords, Trade In, Dragon Shrine, Red MD, so on and so forth. It's all really good. I don't actually recommend playing Red MD to an extent because you generally don't want to banish your Dragonmaids, but however, it could be a good way of bringing back your House Dragonmaid if she dies, so maybe something to consider playing in the deck. Trade-in's pretty good as well. You don't really care about your level 8s getting in the graveyard because your level 3s can just bring them back, so hey, get some draw power and also recurring your monsters from the graveyard. And of course also Dragon Shrine, Fool's Burial, stuff like that. It's nice but not really necessary for the deck. It just kind of helps with getting your dudes in the graveyard. So yeah. If I have any real big complaint with the deck outside of how slow it is and how much it really could just use some more support, it's that the deck really can't fully capitalize on link monsters because generally speaking, you don't want to use your resources into making a link because once they're in the graveyard, or at least once the level 3 and 2 monsters are in the graveyard, they're stuck there. So unless like you're using the dragons to make a link monster, it's really not oftentimes worth it unless you absolutely need to. So, overall, Dragonmaids are a fun, casual rogue deck that are in desperate need of more support. and I really hope they do get more support. The quick play spell is a nice start with more support, but they could really do with a link and maybe some more monsters in a main deck, or some better spells and traps. I mean, don't get me wrong, the spells and traps they have are pretty good, but they could do it more. So, what do you guys think of Dragonmaids? Thank you all for watching. Have a great day. Peace out, and thank you all for watching the video. Have a great day. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. Rate, comment, and subscribe, and see y'all later.